Welcome to another episode of Heavy Storms, Infinite Rainy Days' most infamous. You see what I did there? Movie and TV show anime podcast. Joining me today are Walt. Say hello.
Hey, how you guys doing? I'm sorry I don't have anything funny to open this up with, but this was a really boring film story-wise.
And all the way from England, whom I haven't worked with in a while, Tama.
Hi.
And of course, as you know, it's Zachary Whitley Perlmutter speaking here. I pretty much lead like almost all of the film podcast episodes.
To be fair, Tama did a good job leading End of Evangelion.
That was a one-off.
That was sort of...
Oh, well, wow. Okay, you just got... Whoa! I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tama. Whitley's gotta stamp down, claim his spot as the movie host here. I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Tama did a great job.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Although, unfortunately, as a side note, I ended up watching the movie. Watching the episode when it was really late at night, so I was kind of tired.
Did you fall asleep?
I was trying not to.
See, I was gonna just say, did you do that head bob thing where it's like you're in class and all of a sudden you're like, well, I was gonna do something visual, but then I remember we're a fucking audio podcast. You did that thing where you like jerk your neck because you like start to fall asleep.
Yeah, it's not your fault though. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, you're falling asleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. God, you're an amateur, dude. Absolute amateur. But hey, we should probably talk about the film we're supposed to talk about instead of our sleeping habits.
All right. So the film that we're going to be discussing today is a really obscure one called Princess Arete. Or I think it's called Arete.
Yeah, Arete. That's how I pronounce it.
There's an accent on the E, on the first E, so I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it.
Is there? Because, I everywhere I looked at the title of this film, there's never an accent.
The word arete has an accent on it in general. It's French. So.
Okay, I believe that. This takes place in medieval times, so you could have literally stuck it anywhere in Europe and it would have worked.
Yeah, but before we do that, let's give our introductory topic, anime memories. Originally, we done worst anime experiences, but unfortunately, it's getting kind of hard to find good, bad anime memories to talk about. So.
Wait. You want to do this? Because I'll talk about that.
No, we're doing anime memories in general. Like it could be memories that really stuck out with you. So I will let Tama go first because I haven't dealt with him in a while. And I feel kind of bad for jabbing at him for End of Evangelion.
Anime memories. I am currently rewatching and rereading Rurouni Kenshin, which, as people know, is probably one of my favourite series of all time. And guess where I've just got to in the series?
Where?
I have got to the final third. With all the filler that killed the show.
Wait, is the final third in the manga and anime different?
Radically different. The final third of the manga the final third of the manga is by far the best arc because it goes into,
Now, I would disagree because when you said final third, I really feel like that was kind of the weakest point of that story.
Have you seen Trust and Betrayal?
I have actually. That is terrible. We don't think.
We don't speak. I don't mind Trust and Betrayal. I think the more realistic animation style is a little bit jarring. But, yeah, basically the final third sort of deals with, for lack of a better word, Kenshin's backstory and sort of why he is repentant and why he is wandering around all the time.
Did they rip up Trigun?
Yeah. And then you have the anime, and the anime goes, you know what this arc is too good. We're going to have, random stuff, randomly Portuguese Christians and sort of random... It just frankly goes to, the worst filler humanly imaginable. It's not even good for... It's not even sort of Naruto level filler.
I see.
Wow.
And
for the record, I have no idea what they're talking about. I just listened to them ramble.
Filler episodes are basically, for those people who don't know what I mean by filler episodes and filler arcs are basically so the manga artist has time to do stuff. So it tends to happen in very long-running series like Bleach, like One Piece, where they will literally do an arc of the anime which is exclusive to the anime and basically doesn't really have any major impact upon the plot. Generally, they introduce characters introduced in a filler arc will then disappear or get killed off by the end of the filler arc. Basically, it's almost like adding a chunk so the manga artist has more time to actually write stuff and develop the story further. I think the problem with Kenshin's anime is that basically the manga was still going at the time and the anime overtook the manga and never really allowed him time to catch up, and therefore basically one of the best arcs in the entire manga doesn't exist in the anime. And it actually killed the show.
That's brutal. And that doesn't mean, like, filler arcs need to be terrible. I know for a fact that on the One Piece anime, whenever they have to do a filler arc, they either get Oda, the author behind One Piece, to help write the filler arc, or get his approval on the story written for the filler arc. So typically, like, I know for a fact One Piece, because that's really the one I keep up with the most. They generally have really good filler because the author helps keep it in line with the rest of the anime. And then you have stuff like the Naruto filler, it's literally they needed time between when the manga did its time skip, so they did 80 episodes of filler, nearly a year and a half of filler, so that the manga could keep ahead of the anime.
Yes.
Or you can have what Dragon Ball Z did.
17 episodes of powering up.
Yes.
I think One Piece does, but the thing is, One Piece, I've always thought of One Piece as probably, shonen done at its best. It's like almost the yardstick for
you mean like
shonen.
more conventional shonen?
Yeah, I would definitely agree that One Piece is perhaps like the most conventional shonen can get, but it's done well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Because if you want like really high class shonen, you're not going to find it in the big three.
No. You want high class shonen, I'd probably recommend you to stuff like Iron Knight.
Or Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yes.
I can't remember does FMA actually have filler? Because I know the anime does.
FMA literally had an entire season with its own original ending that you could probably say was filler. That now is still hotly debated which one was actually better.
Was she?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely would say FMA had filler.
Was she involved in
Spoilers.
doing the filler?
I'm so sorry that I mentioned there are 2 anime series with 2 different endings. That's totally spoiler.
Hi. Yes, Evangelion. Oh yeah, that's amusing.
Oh god, that was.
I finally got my DVD of 3.33. The one I pre-ordered 2 years ago.
Are you serious?
I got it. I got the special edition. It's it's really nice, but it's sort of
don't pre-order.
I pre-ordered it 2 years ago.
All right, so I guess we can move on to Walt now.
Let's see. I don't know. What anime memory should I bust out? Should I bust out the one where I wanted to watch Noragami, but I decided to read the manga instead, or the one where I wanted to watch Shonen Sample but read the manga instead? I'm the manga guy. You think I have anime memories? That's really funny. I do want to talk about something that's gonna become an anime.
Yeah.
An animated film. It's called A Silent Voice, and just last night I picked up the 5th volume. There are 8 volumes total, and the 5th volume is out here in America, probably in other countries as well. Sorry if I don't keep up with that. It's really... So, for those of you that don't know what A Silent Voice is, A Silent Voice is a manga series about this deaf girl that gets transferred in the class of this kid named Shoko. And Shoko, thinking this girl, basically the way she acts is a real disruption to basically the world around him, starts to bully her, and this, encourages the class to join in as well. And so everyone's bullying this girl, to the point where she basically ends up having to move schools, and when it comes time when everyone wants to pin the blame on someone for bullying her, Shoko is the one that basically takes the fall. And this basically radically changes his whole life from that day forth. And so the story basically picks up 10 years later where Shoko's trying to find the deaf girl. I forget her name at the moment, I'm sorry. He's trying to find her to basically apologize, to try and redeem himself. And that's basically what the story's about. And right now, with the 5th volume out, the story really just hit its real peak of tension. And there is an animated movie coming out about it. And I was very curious to hear it's a movie, because I'm surprised they didn't just go for the series, because I feel like there's so many details about the story that if you leave out, you're gonna miss a lot of the points of many of the characters, unless if they even keep them at all. Maybe they won't. Maybe the movie's gonna focus more on when they're young, because the one shot when it first came out focused solely on when they were younger and the effects it had. But yeah, so that's just what I've been reading. I've been thinking about the fact that I forget exactly when the movie is going to come out. I wouldn't mind looking it up if, Whitley, you want to start your turn, and I'll look it up and interrupt you when I find it. Thank you.
Yeah. If anything, it'd probably be a good idea to go to the present and then have occasional cutbacks to see how they got to where they were.
Yeah,
that would be actually very clever.
It is a movie scheduled for the air date of October 2016, so this year.
Oh, okay.
I may take over Heavy Storms to talk about this movie.
All right.
KyoAni, I think, are doing it.
Yes, Kyoto Animation. Yep, you're right. So yeah, right. I'm really looking forward to this. The deaf girl's name, by the way, was Shoko and Shoya and Shoko. Anyway, that's all I had to talk about. Thank you.
All right. So I'm actually gonna go back to one of my earliest anime memories in 2010. My school the university had gone on strike from 2008 to 2009, and my second year was a living nightmare. And because of everything starting so much later in the second year, the third year decided to give me an extra week and a half before school started. So here I was, this 20-year-old kid, miserable, stressed to no tomorrow, pretty much contemplating dropping out of university. And I stumble upon this old cover of a DVD that one of my brother's friends had left lying around in the house that was spirited away. And I ended up watching it, thinking, okay, it said it was for from Walt Disney Studios, comes a Studio Ghibli movie, a Hayao Miyazaki film. I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. I'd heard about the movie before on Screw Attack from someone who had casually mentioned it in a blog. And I decided to watch it, and I really, really, really loved it. Even though, a good 3 or 5 minutes were permanently damaged, so I had constantly skipped over that part. That's kind of what got me started on my Miyazaki Studio Ghibli fascination. And from there, it was kind of like an uphill battle of trying to find every single Studio Ghibli movie I could find. And I have some really funny stories to go along with that. For example, I had a really awful professor in my third year of university who was teaching American literary history. I ended up dropping the course and took it again the following year. But he was a control freak. And I found that one day I decided to come to class late because I went all the way to HMV in my local mall, and I got 3 different Studio Ghibli movies. I got The Cat Returns, Whisper of the Heart, and Pompoko. I came in with about a half an hour left to class, and my professor was really upset. He pulled me aside and said that you come in a half an hour late, you ask a question, you're being incredibly disruptive. If you're going to continue like this, you're not going to succeed in my class. So what do I do that very night? I dropped the class.
Wait. So you show up to class late, the teacher tells you to not show up to class late, and then you drop the class?
Yeah.
You do realize that from our perspective, that doesn't sound like the teacher was in the wrong.
No, the teacher was a control freak also.
I'm just trying to paint this picture because...
So I contemplated dropping the class for a while. Because whenever I asked a question, my teacher would shout me down and tell me that. for example, I have a disability, so I have a hard time writing down notes. And my professor would not let anybody scribe for me. He wouldn't let me record anything because his notes were all recorded online. He wouldn't let you ask questions in class because they had to be after class.
Okay.
You have to approach him in a single
now
order
it's
line.
starting to paint the better picture of what you're trying to say here. Yeah.
He was a bit of a control freak. So I knew I wasn't going to stay in the class. I just needed the right incentive, and I ended up dropping it anyway. That very night. It was a shame too because I liked the tutorial, and the very first the TA in the tutorial was very free flow. We actually had a discussion about why I think Howl's Moving Castle is overrated. Well, of course, it took like 10-15 minutes of the tutorial. We only had an hour, so it wasn't very well planned, but whatever. That's kind of my memory. That's how I kind of got into Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli actually helped me get through university.
That's really cool.
I've been trying to write about it on Infinite Rainy Day for a while now, but for some reason, stuff keeps getting in the way. Like one time, my computer restarted on me, and I lost everything I wrote that night. And then
that's brutal.
I didn't know where to continue, and I'm
Control
hoping,
S, dude. Control S. That's where you continue from.
I hope that one day in the future I'll be able to write a full piece chronicling how it helped me go through university. Like people often think like how I'm just the Studio Ghibli guy and I don't stop talking about Studio Ghibli, but there's a reason for it. It affected me profoundly. It's no different than somebody on my Twitter feed constantly talking about the Muppets or a guy constantly talking about Disney. It really affected me in a positive way.
Yeah, I think everyone on the staff has that one series that helped them in some way. Just from watching it, being able to relate to it. I think the anime that I probably watched at the best time I could have watched it, I think is the best way to put it, is Tatami Galaxy. If you guys have never heard of that,
I've heard of
that's
it.
Heard
of it, not watched it.
Oh, it's a wonderful series. It's basically about this guy in college trying to find his way to his own little bit of happiness within the college, continually going through all these different clubs and circles, trying to find where he belongs. Yeah, it's wild, really.
I probably would like it.
I think you would. I think, Whitley, you would probably relate to it more than anyone else.
Yeah, university was not an easy time for me.
Yeah.
Especially with, like I said, with like the strike and all the crap that happened there. Like the Hillel in our university was stormed one day.
Wait, the what was stormed?
The Hillel, the Jew. There are these little places. There's an organization called Hillel, and they have little spots in universities for Jews to hang out in. It's like a safe haven for Jews, where they do Jewish-related activities. People can eat there. People can talk there. So the Hillel in my university was stormed once during a protest.
Wait, what were they protesting?
I'd rather not get into that.
Oh, fuck me. Alright. Yeah, I think that's for the best. I think it's best if we end this train of thought here so we can actually talk about the movie in question right after our musical break!
Cue the interlude.
Sadness!
Welcome back. I hope
Princess Arete.
Yeah,
a visually beautiful movie with a horribly boring story.
So let's just give some context. Princess Arete does not have a Rotten Tomato score, which is like the first for a movie that we're dealing with on this podcast.
If I make a Rotten Tomatoes count right now, can I be the first review?
Okay.
I'm doing it. You go.
All right. Well, you have to register for the site, so it's a little more complicated than that.
What do you mean register for the site? Can't you just make an account? Sign up. Here we go. How hard can this be?
You're kidding? It's got no Rotten Tomatoes score at all.
Yeah.
Wait, what the hell?
Impressive.
Whoa! What? Oh,
it's got a user score.
Oh, it just used my Facebook account to log in.
From what I gathered, it has a user account score. What does it say on there for the user accounts? The user percentage?
I don't know. About to find out. Let's see. Audience score, 67% liked it.
Okay. How many people voted?
Let's see. That's a good question. Where's that number? User ratings, 219.
Average rating?
3.6 out of 5.
Okay. Okay, so just to keep that in mind, this is a first for Heavy Storms. I think even End of Evangelion had a review score. I don't remember what it was, but I think it even had one.
Let me go look.
You can verify that. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, so it was pretty much like an unknown movie. The only reason why I heard about it is because I was looking for, I think it was a letter to Momo, which, FYI, we are totally going to be covering in the summer. Just so you know. So Letter to Momo, and it mentioned, like, I had, like, 2 different links on YouTube. One was a trailer for a Jesus anime.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that last sentence.
One of them was a trailer for a Jesus anime.
Okay.
The other one was a trailer for Princess Arete.
Okay. But real quick, I'll let you get back on that.
Yeah.
Neon Genesis Evangelion, End of Evangelion, no tomato meter score.
2.
Okay.
There's 2 reviews,
Interesting.
both fresh.
Okay, fine. So there's 2. There's 2. I was wrong, people. I was wrong.
Yes,
but
you were, and you should be ashamed of it.
I should wear the cone of shame. I do not like the cone of shame.
Yep.
That was an up joke for anybody who got it. So that's kind of like how I found it, and I recommended it because it looked interesting. The whole picture of the barefooted girl in the meadow, looking up at the sky. I'm like, this is a weird image. But it looked like a cute little Miyazaki ripoff, so I'm thinking to myself, it can't be that bad. The trailer sold me. The trailer looked interesting, and I figured I actually ended up putting up a vote on Infinite Rainy Days private chat between that and Summer Wars, and Princess Arete won by 1 vote.
And I think that 1 vote was because just no one else wanted to vote.
Yeah. No, it was Joe. Joe put it in.
Joe put an end to it because no one else would throw up their vote, and it's like, oh, just here.
Yeah, for the record, we're covering Summer Wars in May.
May?
Yeah. That should be fun. It should be nice to have something positive to talk about.
I like Summer Wars.
I know.
I thought it was very different, but it was also a very reminiscent. Funny enough, it was very reminiscent of Digimon the movie when I first saw it, and I did not know that the person had worked on both parts. So,
all right. So, as for Tama and Walt, how did you find out about this movie?
Oh, you want to know how I found out about this movie? Because you were on Skype. Like, we need one more person between me and Megan to watch this film. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. What's the film called? Princess Arete? All right. And I'm like, this actually looks really good. Why have I never heard of it? Went on Wikipedia, saw the director, saw the studio, saw all the people involved. I'm like, wow, no one, and I mean no one, that an American audience would recognize worked on this film. No wonder I've never heard of it.
Yeah. It's also interesting that it's on Netflix right now.
That's probably going to be the most exposure this film ever got.
Yes.
Probably got it cheap.
Yeah. I believe that. I really would.
Yeah, I honestly think, as a side note, that the movie kind of deserves like a dub of some kind. I think that would definitely help its popularity, especially now it's on Netflix.
Yeah, maybe. But then again, I keep bringing this up. Who are you going to find to dub this? Like, who's going to take a risk on this
Bang Zoom?
2001 movie? Huh?
Bang Zoom?
I don't even know who the hell that is. So
Bang Zoom is like one of the few Californian dubbing studios left.
Well, I've never heard of them, so there you go.
Bandai used to use a Bang Zoom for a lot of their stuff. They used Bang Zoom for like Gurren Lagann and Eureka 7.
Yeah, 2 shows I've never seen.
They also dubbed Madoka Magica.
Didn't see the dub of that.
And Kill la Kill.
That has a dub?
I didn't see the dub of that.
Yes, it has a dub. Bang Zoom has a pretty hit or miss track record, but when they do good stuff, they do amazing stuff. So,
Well, that's good to hear then.
yeah. So yeah. And
Tama,
as for
how'd
Tom,
you hear about this film?
You told me about it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, dude, this is the most obscure thing we've ever looked at. And I do literally the podcast about obscure manga. And you beat me.
that wasn't my purpose.
Strangely enough, this is based on a novel, but which is called, I think, The Clever Princess, I think is the title, which weirdly I have read.
I'm kind of sad you couldn't find it before we started this.
Yeah, it's a long time ago and I don't have the book, and it was like when I was 6. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
But anyway, we should probably talk about what Princess Arete is about. So,
Right.
Princess Arete is about a little girl who is kept in the tower of a castle by her father, the king, And she's basically used as a prize to send knights out to retrieve magical items that the country can sell. And that goes all fine and dandy until one day a sorcerer, one of the old people that used to make all these magical artifacts, comes to whisk the princess away, only to be revealed that he actually just wants to kidnap her and hold her prisoner, since apparently she's supposed to put an end to his eternal life. And that's basically the plot of the movie: is woman locked in tower and locked away because she has opinion, and that's basically that's a good 2/3 of the movie.
That's probably. It's actually kind of interesting. I'm trying to debate, like, when I was watching it, is this a feminist-friendly movie or a chauvinistic movie? I'm not entirely sure.
Here's and I'll answer that with this.
Yeah?
This is how the first third of the movie goes. I want to go out and explore the world and meet the people. You can't. Why not? You're a princess. So? What? That's the first third of this movie. Literally, the sorcerer's plan is that because she has a free will of her own, he can convince everyone that she's under a curse and can use his magic to brainwash her into being subservient, and everyone will believe that's what she's supposed to act like and that she's freed from the curse. This is, perhaps... And I get it. That's the time frame this movie is set in. But it's not handled very tactfully.
No, it's not.
It's sort of approaching sort of Legend of Zelda sort of feminism. It's sort of, well, you're going to do a princess, yes, and, well, you're going to stay in this tower until someone comes and either marries you or rescues you. Okay. Oh, and you can't go out, and here's a wizard.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like half the film now.
It's like Super Princess Peach, where she finally gets her own adventure, but all she can do is like cry and like use frying pans.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I think Walt had said last night on Skype he's not entirely sure if this is a good movie or a bad movie.
Now, here's the thing. I stand by everything I just said about the story. I was never visually bored to watch this film because it is beautiful. Like the studio that made this, Studio 4 Degrees.
4C.
4C.
Every time I see it online. It's always got that 4, the little circle that means Celsius.
Yeah.
So I always read it as Studio 4 Celsius. I don't know, is that weird?
I think that's what they call themselves.
They've done films like Tekken 10 Crete. They've done The Animatrix. I remember there's like one other. Oh, they did Steam Boy, which we did an episode on, and I think we can all agree that movie looked fantastic, regardless of what we thought of the story.
Yeah.
And so these guys know what they're doing, and this is 2001. This is before a lot of the films I just listed, but you can clearly see they've had this talent for making these gorgeous films for quite a while, just based on this.
This was also during that weird transition phase from hand cells to digital cells too. So,
yeah, I think, and I think we talked about this before we started, but visually, like the backgrounds, the scenic design, all of these are beautiful. The characters look like blotches.
Yeah, it's the good dinosaur syndrome all over again.
Yeah, I didn't get what. I don't think I got what you meant by that the first time. But tell me if I am close.
Yeah.
The scenery's beautiful. The characters look like they're from a 2005 cartoon instead of something from 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like the backgrounds are beautiful, but they have like that like grimy, rustic, lived-in kind of feel to them.
Yeah.
But it's like there's not a lot of color in the scenery, but it looks beautiful. But the character models themselves, like the hands and feet are generic. I think the only time you ever see fingernails are when they zoom in on Arete's hands.
Yeah.
And there are moments where the characters don't move at all, and the mouths are awkward. One of the characters sleeps with his feet. His feet look like these weird blobby feet. It's weird. Like there's definitely a lot of passion behind the movie in terms of what they were able to work with. But even for movie standards, the character models are still pretty cheap.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And It's kind of a shame because if they had a bit more time or a bit more budget to fix up the character models, or maybe that was what they wanted to go for. Maybe that was just the stylistic choice they wanted, were these super detailed backgrounds and scenics combined with these more. I guess the politest way to put it are these more kind of hand-drawn, sketched characters.
Yeah.
And I can understand that if it's a style, I can understand it. It doesn't mean I have to like it, and I kind of didn't.
It's almost like picture for an American version. Picture like the original Tracy Ullman Simpsons sketches in like modern day Simpsons background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That covers it. Getting back to story though, because I'm glad I got to talk about one thing I liked about this film, and there are multiple things I liked about this film.
Yeah.
I think that there were at least 2 better movies in the story of Princess Arete, but we got stuck with following Arete, and she's the most boring character of all of them.
Mm-hmm. She's very George Miller and as far as protagonists go.
Yeah.
Like, in George Miller movies, the protagonists are usually the least interesting characters in the entire film.
Yeah. Because her whole thing is that she basically is always stuck in the tower. She always has to just watch everyone from afar. And and she basically finds her way out of the castle. She's got all these secret passages so she can finally interact. It feels like she basically does nothing still.
Yeah.
Oh, she got her wish. You expect to see her, like, way more happy, but it's like, I think that's also kind of the thing. She's always kind of very
disaffected,
bored, it seems. Yeah.
She's disaffected. She's also really passive. It's kind of scary how passive she is.
Yeah, I mean, she's supposed to be, like, the one that jumps into action. She's the one... And to be fair, like, the third act, I feel like that kind of passiveness worked to her favor.
Yeah.
But it didn't make for a very interesting time when we were with her the rest of the film.
Yeah.
I think, but the first of the 2 better stories, I think, is with the sorcerer Box.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of this guy who's basically... So, the whole deal with the sorcerers is they were an ancient immortal race of magic-wielding people who are now basically gone. Their continent has sunk to the bottom of the ocean. What few of them still remain might or might not be among the stars. And so, Box is basically the last of these guys. We meet two magic users in the entire show. Both of them kind of get the short end of the stick. But Box, I really feel for the guy, even though he's a complete dick, because you can tell that the fact that might be the last one, the fact that he understands he might be the last immortal sorcerer left, and the fact that he's trying so hard to find his brethren, for reasons we learn at the end of the movie, it's very heartbreaking and very interesting to watch. And the whole second act is basically dedicated to this guy living his daily life. And I think that was perhaps... He has more life and energy than Arete does during the first act when she's not brainwashed.
Yeah, she pretty
much...
By
the way, I mentioned the first act, how people react to her having independence in the first. Here's the second act with Arete. She's literally brainwashed into being passive and sitting in a chair for, I think a good 30 or 40 minutes of this film, maybe 50. It's really insane that they made a main character that literally almost does nothing for 2/3 of the film.
She's kind of like Erin from Tales from Earthsea in that when they finally get to the interesting stuff with her character, it's already too late.
Basically, I think as a film, if they had cut it down to about an hour long, if the plot, because obviously the thing is, as you said, it is a very simple plot. It's a very almost fairy tale like plot. If it had been cut down to something like 45 minutes, an hour, and sort of the money had gone on slightly better animation, on sort of making the plot slightly tighter, and not having, frankly, particularly in the middle of the film, so much sitting around with the characters not doing a whole lot, I think it would have been a better film.
Yeah, there was a lot of just kind of down, quiet time in this film. Just basically where we really almost accomplish nothing.
And I understand that anime films tend to do that, because I think Hayao Miyazaki put it very, very, very succinctly. where in the West they're constantly clapping their hands, and in the East they clap once or twice, and then there's a long pause between the next clap, which is the downtime.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Like, I think I know what you're talking about. Like, in Spirited Away, there's a lot of downtime as well, but even then, like, that's kind of used more to push the story along. You don't feel like you're wasting your time with that downtime, and that's because it doesn't become a primary focus. Here, the whole reason for the downtime is because we've literally wrote ourselves into a place where we can do nothing but wait for Arete to get her mind back, or wait for the sorcerer to actually want to do something. In which case, both of those take so long that you're just stuck there sitting.
Like, I often complain about Isao Takahata having moments in his movies where nothing really is happening and they go on for too long. But even with Takahata's movies, they feel a lot more lively than this. And I guess to put it in perspective, the reason why we're constantly bringing up Studio Ghibli is because this feels very much like a Studio Ghibli kind of movie.
Yeah, this is very much a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And understandably so. Just out of curiosity, I decided to look up the director. Sunao Katabuchi. Oh, wow. Apparently he was the director for all of Black Lagoon.
Huh.
Which is really surprising. Huh.
Slow movies are obviously not his forte, and he needs to do more action.
Yeah, really. I mean, he's obviously... let's see. He's also directed Hanawasaku. Don't think I've ever heard of that. It was just a 4-minute thing, though. I'm just looking through his stuff now, wondering like if I recognize anything else. I was really surprised to see Black Lagoon there.
Yeah.
Really.
So I guess what do you think of the music?
Okay. Here's what I have to say about the music. If no one... It's said, and they say this about the movies too, and I learned this in sound class, if no one says anything bad about your sound, then it was good. But at the same time, I have nothing to say about the sound, so I would say it's so-so.
Yeah.
Like, I can't... I watched the movie last night, and about 12 hours have passed since then. I have no memory of any music that plays in that.
Which is weird, because it reuses a lot of tracks. I remember that much.
Does it? Like, I didn't even notice that, if so.
It does. It does reuse a lot of tracks. Like, the sound and the sound design of the film are very good. It's just that they're not memorable.
Yeah. Like, really, the only thing I may recognize, and this would be such a barely, is the end credit song, because I was finally like, oh my god, it's finally over. I'm so glad they actually did something with that third act.
And it's also interesting because there are really only like 4 important characters in the entire movie. There's the sorcerer, there's Arete, who's only mentioned by name twice, by the way. There is the sorcerer's frog-like companion. I forget what his name is.
I would say 5 then, because I think I know who you're going to say for the 4th one. There's the witch as well. The witch at the beginning, who we really only have 2 scenes with, but she does kind of... She basically hands over MacGuffin number 1.
And then there's that woman who Arete kind of bonds with a little bit.
Yeah, Ample.
Ample.
I liked Ample, like, because again, I said before that there were 2 better movies in this one. The idea of this woman kind of forced into servitude for the sorcerer, that was the second better one. The fact that she has this whole dream of digging a well and finding water so their village doesn't have to live off of the sorcerer anymore. Like, that was... I thought that would have been a much better movie as well.
There's also, like, one little sub-scene where Arete is telling a story. She's like, I should write a book, but no, I could probably mention it in my head first. So she writes... And then she ends up reciting her entire backstory.
Yeah, basically. And here's the thing, like... Half of it was at least worthwhile, because half of it we kind of didn't know about her, except for like 30 seconds at the beginning. And then the second half of that was basically literally retelling the first act of the movie, in which I'm like, we know this. We for a fact know all this. Why are we... What?
Yeah, the movie does there's a weird habit of backtracking where it will tell you information in expository form, and then it'll actually flash back and show the information again.
Yeah.
Like when Arete was caught sneaking out with the bear troop.
Yeah, basically, it literally just showed that whole scene, and I feel like that would have just been better to see from Arete's point of view.
Right.
Just, like, show it in sequence, because it's like, if you... And here's the thing. There was an easy fix to this if you wanted to keep the sequence the way it was. Don't even have the guard talk. Like, just literally show Arete's been captured, have the audience ask, why was she captured? Don't have him say it was with a bear troop, and literally just show her joining the bear troop.
Or you can do the narrative, the voiceover narrative approach, where you have the guard speaking as the visuals are being shown.
Yeah, that could work as well. There were a lot of better ways to make this work, and they really did kind of pick the worst way to do it.
Right.
I think a lot of the film's issue is essentially it's trying to do, you know, the sort of the narrative fairy tale and sort of all the trappings of that, so like the narrator and things, but at the same time it's trying to do, you know, what is essentially a spoken story, a story without sort of a visual thing, you know, where you would have a storyteller telling you the story, but at the same time it's trying to do it visually. It tries. I think a lot of it would have worked better if it had stuck, you know, with either a narrator and not much dialogue, rather than going, we found her by the gate, and then showing her being found by the gate, and then going back and then sort of...
See, here's the thing. It's a common rule of filmmaking to show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell, yeah.
But this movie is trying to show and tell.
Yeah.
And that, in a way, is also just as bad.
Yeah, so the rule of show, don't tell, it isn't always the case. It's a guideline. If you know how to break the rule, you can actually have dialogue-heavy storytelling. There's a way of conveying an exposition that doesn't make it feel boring or forced. It's all about what you're showing in the background as you're explaining the exposition. It's almost as if, and I guess it's kind of unfortunate because there's a lot of great stuff here, but I don't think the director was fully confident in the material.
And it shows, it really does show, because I feel as a film, it's almost trying to do too much. It's sort of trying to do, you know, we're going to tell the story about a princess, but it spreads, as I've said, it spreads its material far too thinly over a film that, frankly, you know, is trying to use, you know, an hour and a half, but really with only sort of an hour or even 45 minutes of material. And it's so it repeats itself. It sort of almost feels like sort of, you know, it's forgotten where it is in the story, and it goes back and it sort of reminds us, you know, within sort of 10-15 minutes, as though it doesn't quite trust its audience's attention span to sort of actually, you know, remember what happened.
Which, funny enough, I didn't get that feeling at all during the second act of the film, when it was a primarily focus on the sorcerer. I feel like that was handled far better than it was handled Arete's segment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But it's
yeah, because I really think the Sorcerer Box was my favorite character, because he did have the much more compelling story. Like, I think my favorite scene with him was when he uses, after Arete escapes, he uses clairvoyance magic to see where she is, and it shows Arete disguised as Ample. Rather than realize Ample is Arete, he has this whole moment of panic where he thinks his magic is broken, and that's something that's been building up through the whole second act. Is this guy is not that great a sorcerer. He has a few parlor tricks, basically, and it's explained why in the third act. But I think that's such a revealing character moment after what we've seen for the whole second act, that he can't even trust his own magic anymore.
Yeah, it's he basically becomes paranoid because he made Arete promise that if she ever came back to him, she'd get struck by lightning.
No, that wasn't the promise. The promise was that if the princess were to take a step back in her journey, she would be struck by lightning and die. So if she basically stopped climbing the mountain, if she didn't get the eye, and that was and basically the whole wording was meant to like kill her, and that was basically how she ended up escaping.
Mm-hmm. And also, I guess we can talk about the ring, too, that she's given.
Oh, MacGuffin number 1?
Yes.
Yeah, MacGuffin number 1 is a ring that grants 3 wishes. Yeah, I like how no one has anything to say about that, because that's absolute fairy tale MacGuffin. And that's what this is, a fairy tale, so I was like, okay, whatever. MacGuffin,
And I mean,
can take
it's a clearly defined ring that has clearly defined rules, but, like, she doesn't even wish for anything exciting. The first wish is what? To make her room look fancier?
Wait, what are you talking about? There's literally nothing explained except you can make 3 wishes.
So the first wish that she has, it's not explained.
Like, honestly, I got so curious as to how far this ring could go, because I was like, okay, first wish, she just decorated her room. Second wish, she wished for stuff to sew with. She's still brainwashed, so basically, like, her brainwashed self is wasting the wishes. Okay. I was like, so how, when she has a wish left, what would she do with it? Like, because I really wanted her to do something really cool, like, oh, they talk about how the valley was once very green. I'd like, was she gonna wish for a massive flood to bring back the water and restore the valley? Was she gonna basically wish for the magic powers of the sorcerer? Like, I was so curious, and I was also kind of disappointed. But at the same time, it was kind of okay. I don't know. I was kind of mixed on the whole, like, wishes being wasted.
The third wish, I think, was the one for the lightning, right?
Yeah, we talked about that after that.
Right. By the way, I looked up the word arete, so there is an accent on the E.
Oh, there is an A. So it's arete.
And it's a noun. It means a sharp mountain ridge.
Are you serious?
It's a
Yes.
rat.
So you're saying a mountain went to a mountain then?
Arete?
It's a rat. I did geography, I know these things.
Alright, so her name is Princess Arete.
Are you serious?
We have been getting the title wrong the entire time. I am so sorry.
No. How about screw this? I'm a stubborn American. Arete sounds more adorable for the fairy tale, so arete it is.
Cool.
Yeah, but the origin of the word is from early 19th century French.
Okay.
Originating from Latin arista, or ear of wheat, fishbone spine.
Guys, this is basically Whitley's way of saying we officially have nothing left to talk about with this film.
Right.
So, you know what? If we have nothing left to talk about, final thoughts.
Alright, so, again, Tama will go first with his thesis statement and his overall score.
Basically, it's a fairy tale Ghibli light film. It's not anything it's not obnoxious, it's not terrible, nothing much happens in it. It's something you can watch once and sort of go, well, that was pretty, and that's about it. I would give it 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree with Tama. It's a fairy tale film. The story is really nothing great, but it's beautiful visually. Nothing I can complain about with sound. Nothing that really stuck out, though, either. So overall, yeah, 6 out of 10. It was an alright film. Light watching. If you don't like slower films, this will not keep your attention.
Alright, so Princess Arete, and I'm going to call it that, is the epitome of a movie that is just a movie. It exists. It's not boring, it's not annoying, it's not great, it's not terrible. There's nothing particularly memorable about it, but I can't stop watching it because I'm interested in seeing where it goes. It sure is a movie. It's that kind of story that you hear at those campfires, not the horror stories, but the campfires. People are telling the stories of their past. Well, they're not terribly exciting, but you're invested enough that you want to know how they end. If you don't mind, like, watching a low fantasy film with some elements of magic in it that is overall kinda I'd say watch Princess Arete. I'll give it also a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
So our average score is a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, basically. Literally, we gave this the devil's score.
Mm-hmm.
Triple sixes. So, that's confirmed. Rete is Satan. In the Middle Ages. Yep. That's what we're ending it on, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.